So let's get straight into my vegan health journey. So when I was a kid, I struggled a lot with a lot of sickness. I developed asthma and allergies from a pretty young age, and I also had really chronic hay fever. I had fairly low immunity as well. I was very susceptible to getting colds and flus and chest infections. I got a lot of chest infections, which I think was related to asthma. I just don't remember having a lot of energy as a kid. I was really athletic, but I just don't remember having, vibrant energy. I didn't have like fizzy drinks and candy and like fast food, but we did have a lot of animal products, and we still did eat a fair amount of processed foods. With the asthma and the hay fever, I was put on pharmaceutical medication from a fairly young age. So into my teen years, when I got my periods were very heavy and very painful, and this continued into my mid-20s. So in my early 20s, I developed endometriosis, and I had surgery for it. Since then, I have had no recurring symptoms. I will talk more about that later. So around age 19 to like age probably 25, I was smoking, and I was eating so badly. I was eating mostly processed foods, hardly any whole foods at all. I was eating a ton of animal products. I wasn't drinking enough water. I was drinking a lot of stimulating caffeine-based drinks, like heaps of coffee and things like V. I was drinking alcohol, which I don't drink at all now. I wasn't taking care of myself with like adequate sleep and regular exercise. I wasn't reducing my stress levels. I was such a stress ball. All of those things just made such a huge difference, and my health was just absolutely terrible. I got regular colds and flus. Like usually I would have like a cold or a flu every single month, and I ate a lot of dairy. My immunity was really low. I had such bad energy, just like super low energy. I still had like heavy crampy periods. I had the asthma really badly, and it got worse. Hay fever and allergies were just out of control. I was on like daily medication for asthma and allergies. I was allergic to a lot of raw foods, particularly a lot of vegetables, and I just felt terrible. So I had also developed in my kind of mid-20s, I started getting like regular like urinary tract infections, and I had this on and off for a couple of years, where I would get like heaps of them. I went to a gynecologist and a urologist about this, and they weren't able to help me at all. I also saw a naturopathic doctor, and there were some things that he did for me that were helpful, but just overall it just ended up costing like thousands of dollars, and my health overall was not really that much better. I had a really tough pregnancy with him as far as like my immunity went. He was really healthy and well the whole time, and I'm very thankful for that. I got so many colds and flus just like I did when I wasn't pregnant, but it was amplified. My asthma symptoms got even worse, and I gained an enormous amount of weight when I was pregnant as well. I am not saying that if you were this weight when you were pregnant that you shouldn't have been, but I'm quite a petite person. So for me to be this weight was very unhealthy for me, and I didn't feel good. I went to a retreat not long after Romeo was born. It was a wellness retreat, and it was amazing. I started slowly cutting out the processed foods, which was a huge step for me. And over the course of the next year, my diet changed enormously, and I was eating, by the end of that year, I was eating very little animal products, and I was eating a lot more whole foods. And I had started doing yoga, and I had started meditating, and I started slowly seeing a shift. And then I went vegan when Romeo was a year old. And for the first 2 years of being vegan, I definitely did start feeling better, but it still wasn't a huge amount. And I was not eating a lot of fruits, like raw fruits and veggies, which personally I thrive on. And then I stumbled across a Freely the Banana Girl video, and I really launched into that, like raw till 4 over the next year. And I really started noticing a huge difference to, I think Ocean's just woken up. Alright, Ocean just woke up and she's just having a morning breastfeed. I did find that this made a huge impact on my energy, particularly having smoothies. For the first time, I really felt like I experienced like huge amounts of energy. And over the course of the few months, I did see that my asthma started getting better and my allergies. But I wasn't consistent with not eating processed foods. And I wasn't eating enough like seeds, nuts, and greens either. But I did notice a huge difference eating a lot of fruit. My 3rd year going vegan, and at the end of that year, I decided to go completely raw vegan for 3 months. This was one of the best things that I had ever done for my health. It was amazing. And I felt absolutely incredible that whole time. So what I was eating throughout that time, 2 really huge smoothies a day. So my morning smoothie would be 2 liters and my lunch smoothie would be 2 liters. And usually the morning one would just be like a whole bunch of different fruits, and then the midday one would be a lot more veggies and then some fruits in there as well. So it was very much a green smoothie. And then I would snack on raw vegetables and just raw fruit. Dinner would be like a really, really big salad with some homemade or bought completely raw flax crackers. It would usually have like a fat-based dressing, which I really loved. And then I would have a whole lot of raw veggies in it, like lettuce and zucchini noodles. And I really, really thrived eating like this. I also did colonics at this point. Just the biggest thing that was noticeable was how strong my immunity was and how much energy I had. I just had so much energy. It was just incredible. I'd never experienced this sort of energy before. Then we moved to the Gold Coast not too long after that, and I stayed mostly on this diet, but I did start having a cooked food in the evening. And as much as I love totally raw, and I think I probably feel my best eating completely raw personally, but I think it's more sustainable long term overall to have a cooked food as well. Especially in the colder months, and if you're living in a cold climate, which I used to live in a cold climate. I live in the Gold Coast now. I did start eating some processed foods because there's such an amazing amount of like delicious vegan treat food in the Gold Coast. And over the course of the following 2 years, which is yeah, like 4 and 5 of being vegan, I started reducing my asthma inhalers even more, and I didn't have the hay fever tablets very often, the ones that I'd been on for years. And I had very, very regular period cycles with pretty much no pain at all. And then I got pregnant with Ocean. I had been reducing my asthma medication at that point, but I didn't want to go off a medication completely while I was pregnant. It's just not, I didn't really feel like it was the best idea at the time. But after the pregnancy, I was able to completely go off the asthma medication. So that was a huge step for me. And I also completely got rid of all of the hay fever medication. The way that I'm thriving now, I feel really, really amazing. I have strong immunity and my stress levels are low. I have clear skin. My energy is just, I have so much energy. I just feel really, really healthy. I don't have endometriosis symptoms, and I haven't for years. Even when getting up early, even if I don't have a great night's sleep, I have enough energy to go through the day, homeschooling my kids and like keeping up after them. And if I get low immunity or I get unwell, which I did at the start of the year, I had a couple of things come up that my body was really struggling to fight. At the time, my stress levels were really, really high, and I wasn't really getting adequate sleep. It wasn't terrible sleep, but I wasn't really going to bed early enough. And I was eating just a little bit too many processed foods, and my body can tolerate only really a very small amount of processed foods before I start noticing it in my immunity. Eat a whole wide variety of whole plant foods. I have lots of plenty of water, really good rest, move your body, meditate, and like take time for yourself, which for me is like meditation, journaling, and doing a workout, moving my body. Really good sleep, keep your stress levels low. I hope that was helpful, guys. Bye, guys.